Welcome. Glad you could make it. Hope your builds are going well these days. All right. So today we are going to revisit MCPs from last week, but with a little different approach because last week we spent a lot of time exploring what they are and how they work, but less time using them and installing them into our IDE. So we're going to go through that a little bit. I got a good question that I think I probably didn't answer very well last week. So I wanted to cover that real quick. When it comes to MCP servers, we're going to work in Windsurf today. And when you install them in here, it does not change your application at all. It's not affecting your build. It's not installing new code in your build. It's giving your AI coding agent, in this case, I have Claude Sonnet 4 with the bring your own key enabled for this particular display right here. It's giving it a bunch of tools to use. So imagine that when working with, say, a railway or working with Supabase or something like that, the AI is using its hands, but the MCP server gives it the right socket wrench and the right hammer size and the right screwdriver to actually work with it effectively. That's all that's happening with an MCP server. It's not changing your application at all. Hopefully that helps a little bit on that particular question. All right, we're going to jump in today and look at some MCP servers. I mentioned several that I use fairly regularly, and I'm going to show you how to actually install them. We're going to go through that process, where to find them, how to install them, and actually see them get put in and maybe mess up the install so we can see what happens. Then we will use them. Last week, we were working on this super simple CRM, which is a little test case for building and debugging that we've been building out on multiple different calls here and adding features and testing debugging features and things like that. So it's a little example item. And there are some bugs from last week's call that we're going to practice debugging. And I want to show you some overfitting issues that have been happening with Claude lately and how to address those so that you don't fix the issues that you have too well and cause bigger problems. I pulled up this list. Last week, I gave a different list of MCPs, but I pulled up this list and just put it in the chat. This is another fun place to see a lot of MCP servers. They have all sorts of new ones. So if you want to see what's just come out, you can build an MCP server for just about anything that you want. We're looking at this, the mcp.so, and we're looking at the different MCP servers that are available here. We are going to install them. This is Windsurf right here. We're going to install one or two, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Then we are going to work on this little simple CRM app and use an MCP to debug it. When you go into any MCP server, you're going to, if they've documented it correctly, you are going to be able to find a script to install. We'll grab this one right here. I haven't used this server, and we're not going to use this one today, but I want to show you just a general example. It gives you this script to install. If you have not installed an MCP server at all before, you're going to copy the whole script. Depending on your integrated development environment, in this case, we're using Windsurf, which is based on Visual Studio Code. So it'll be very similar in any VS Code IDE. You're going to go into, you have a couple places. You can go into settings, advanced settings, cascade, and manage plugins. Or you can go here under your chat and expand this block. There's MCP servers right here. And you can click configure, and they both take you to the same spot. Very slightly by IDEs. The setup is pretty much the same. And then you're going to go to this raw config file and simply paste in the code. If you've never installed the server, it's going to be blank. You're going to paste in the code like this. If you have already installed an MCP server and you want to add one, then you only need this section right here, that particular server, and you're going to add it in line with the rest of your servers. You would go perhaps at the end of one here, hit enter, paste, and then make sure you get your comma put in. And I did need that extra brace there with a comma. So you get your brace and your comma to make sure that it has all of the right start and end controls. That's how you would install that. We're not going to actually keep this one in mind because I don't need it. The reason I point that out is if you already have them installed, then you have this outer wrapper, so to speak, for all of your servers. Re-entering that will basically cause it to error and all of your servers will go offline. That's a common thing I see happen to folks is they just copy each MCP server in and it has too much information. You got to take some out if you already have servers running. And we're going to just Command S, Control S to save that file. So that is saved again. You can go back to your managed plugins and refresh and make sure that your servers are back available, which in this case, we can see that they have green icons. So they came back online. Then the other way you can do these, if we go back to the plugin store, so we went to settings, cascade, and then here to our managed plugins is where we were before. They have an actual list of pre-configured MCPs to install. This isn't a huge list, but these would be some of the most popular ones that the team at Windsurf has put in for you. One that is really useful and also extremely annoying is Neon. If you are interacting with a Neon database and you need to interact with that directly, the Neon MCP server is excellent. If you're not, it's going to pop up this login window every time you change windows inside a Windsurf, and it gets really annoying. I only put this in when I need it and then take it back out so I don't have that login window. And you can turn it off if you want to in your plugins. You can turn it off over here and have it installed and turn it back on. For the sake of this conversation, I uninstalled a few to mess around with so we could see a little different environment. Another one that is really handy over here is Brave Search, and we're going to install that today. Let's do Brave Search, and then we are going to mess around with file system, Brave Search, and sequential thinking in our build here and use them for debugging and finding information and let you see how each of them work in real life. We're just going to go ahead and click this one. I click Brave Search. Now, when you click on one, you can see what tools it has. Tools are what enables your AI chat agent to do. So it can do a web search. It can do a local search. This would be like map search. To set it up, you need to have a Brave Search account with an API key. The free tier plan generally works for most folks, but you can get your key from the developer dashboard. As long as I stored it properly, I have a key somewhere around here that I'll use for that. Then they have some install buttons in case here. This is just from their README file directly from the Git repo that this is stored in. So we're going to install that. We need to get a Brave API key. I'm going to put in the Brave API key and add that plugin. Now let me reshare. And I just took that share down so that the API key isn't in the recording. Okay, so now it says it's enabled. We could disable or uninstall it. And if we go back to our plugins, you'll see that Brave Search is here. It has these two tools that the AI can use. And if we go into our raw config, we're going to see that one down here. And it added it in for us right there. And that's really what it is. All right. So we have that running, and then we have sequential thinking installed, and it's currently turned off. So we're going to enable that, and we're going to enable file system. Now, something about context management. Turn off MCP servers that you're not using for that particular app, because the instructions for how to use the MCP server are sent with the context every time you send a message. And it's going to increase your context usage rapidly if you have too many servers online. So turn those off if you're not using them. That's why you saw most of mine are off at any given time. And I just turn on the ones I want right through the manage plugins. So we have those 3 enabled now. And let's go back to using them. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and follow. And if you need help building or finishing your app, click the link in my bio to book a one-on-one Zoom call to take a look at your project.